Hi everyone, Comic Reviewer here, and this time reviewing on Scooby-Doo and the Monster of Mexico. Now, as you know, the Monster of Mexico was released in 2003 and was pretty much meant to take place after Scooby-Doo and the Legend of the Vampire, and pretty much before before Scooby-Doo and the Loch Ness Monster, which is kind of ironic given the fact that Daphne does kind of foreshadow it in one scene. Now, the premise of the movie is mainly about Fred and the gang, who mainly visit Fred's pen pal, Eljo, in Mexico, and we see basically Fred and the others meeting his family members, everything else. What's actually interesting is that mainly Maria Canis Benner, who played Hot Girl in Justice League, and also mainly in Wizard of Waverly Place, is meant to play Eljo's wife, Sophia. And I actually do admit, I actually feel like with the family members is that they have similar traits and meant to be kind of like what they're supposed to. So what's actually interesting is that Eljo's mother is basically the more kind of mother who's meant to just be there. Sophia is mainly the supportive wife, and Lewis is basically the other brother, is basically meant to be in a relationship with this woman named Charlene, voiced by Cindy Milo, known for playing Irma in basically Witch, and also known for playing Astro Boy in the 2003 Astro Boy cartoon. So what's interesting is that you've got this Chupacabra character, and instead of it being reptilian, or what it should be, it's instead portrayed as being a giant Sasquatch-like creature, and it's kind of and it kind of shows that the villagers in that are implied that they know that the monster isn't what it should be, and it kind of easily implies that whoever the villain is doesn't really know who the monster doesn't really know mostly about Spanish culture. And what's actually interesting is that there is some running gags in the film, like Fred's poorly done Spanish. Also, you've got basically Shaggy and Scooby basically just added in there for comedy, and Scooby having a love interest. You've got Velma giving her history on Spanish culture, and you've got Daphne who's basically just there. What's actually interesting, this is actually the final time we see the original voice cast return. Mainly Heather North and Nicole Jeffrey voicing Velma and Daphne. Now, keep in mind that Dan Mescott, who was the original voice for Scooby, passed away in 1997. So Frank Walker is technically the new Scooby and Fred. So at the same time, I do admit I like how, no, it doesn't involve a haunted mansion. It doesn't involve, like, a supernatural event. Instead, it just goes back to the original roots. And I feel like, yeah, there are moments where the film will do stuff just to speed up the time limit. For example, portraying tourists as basically gullible and believable, and basically having the love-struck brother realizing his mistakes, and so on. Now, I do admit somewhere with Scooby-Doo and the Monster of Mexico, it does kind of show how ignorant sometimes the villains can be, but at the same time, it does kind of show you what Spanish culture is, and I appreciate it. And I think it's interesting because it does kind of imply that Fred is most likely learning Spanish as well as, knowing about it from Eljo. And I do admit I appreciate that. It's kind of meant to show you that, things like Facebook, also like YouTube, is out there, and it's always meant to show you that it's always important to learn new things, new cultures, and everything else. So I do admit the movie's not too bad. I think it's definitely great, and I do admit I like the songs in the movie, like Fever Mexico. It gives that kind of nightclubish feel to it. So I think, to me, Scooby-Doo and the Monster of Mexico took a swing and done right. So I give it a thumbs up. Still good and still alright. So, Comic Reviewy here, signing out.